Hello, welcome to Z Talk. In the previous session, we went through GitLab CI basics and we were able to build our first pipeline. If you haven't watched the video yet, here's the link above. Feel free to jump over there to see what we have done so far. All right, it was a really simple pipeline. We just configured to use a custom Docker image node to install the Gatsby framework, which helps us to build our demo web app, right? Apparently, this pipeline was too simple to be a pipeline for the real prod environment. So in this session, I will customize, or you can see we're gonna improve on top of the existing pipeline to create a multi-stages pipeline, which includes testing, deployment on multiple environments like staging, prod, and then we're gonna do a smoke test after the deployment. All right. And what's more, we're gonna introduce cache in our pipeline to improve the efficiency of our pipelines. All right. So let's quickly jump to the demo. This demo, like I mentioned, we're going to build a multi-stage pipeline via GitLab-ci on top of the existing pipeline. Before I jump to the demo, remember thumb up my video and subscribe if you haven't done so, and feel free to leave a comment. By the way, for these series session about GitLab, I plan to make 3 videos. This is the second one. Basically, we already get the basic of GitLab, so we're gonna GitLab CI, and we're gonna expand our knowledge to build some advanced stuff on the top of the existing one. And then after that, in the next session, I'm gonna create a demo Spring Boot application, and we're gonna build a production pipeline for production for that Spring Boot application. All right, that's the plan. All right, stay tuned. Let's jump to the demo right away. All right, if you remember, here was the pipeline that we had customized so far in our previous session. And I also shared these pipeline in the description of my previous video, so you can grab these codes over there. So what it does is to just install the npm on top of the node Docker image, and then after npm is installed, you're gonna install gatsby-cli via npm, and then run gatsby-cli to build the artifact of the demo app. And last but not least, we pointed the location of the artifacts, as remember, which was the public folder that was created by Gatsby build command, so that GitLab CI knows where to check it out. All right, cool. Now let's add some verifications to make sure, number one, the artifact was built correctly after we issued the Gatsby build command. How we're going to verify that is pretty simple. What we can do here is to grab some patterns inside of that, some files inside of the public folder. For example, let me show you. Let me open up the CLI, right? And then already inside of these public folder, right? So basically, this folder was created by that Gatsby build command. All right, so I will do a simple grab, like grab some key patterns. I will use Gatsby inside of this index.html file. As you can see, there are key patterns that contains Gatsby keyword returned from that HTML file. So basically, we assume if these key patterns was returned like this, we assume the artifact was built successfully. All right. So how do we do that? Include these steps inside of our existing pipeline, because as you know, there's the sequence. Firstly, we have to build our website and then we jump to the test step, right? So because there's the sequence, the test should have happened after the build process. So being said of that, we can break these pieces off by introduce another stage, like here, like this. On the top of the code, I will add stages, and inside of these stanza, we can define whatever stages we want to create for inside of this pipeline. So the first stage, I'm gonna use that stage for these the existing step, build website. So I will call this stage as simple as build, and then we're gonna create another stage to cover all our test use cases, right? So I'll call that stage as test, and then we're gonna tell, so for this existing step gonna belong to stage build, right? As simple as that. And then we can go ahead to create our new test cases. So I will say the first test will be test artifact, right? And stage gonna be test. And image. So in this test case, because all it does is just use the grab command to grab the key pattern inside a file. In that case, we do not have to pick a big image like node. Because it's going to be too much to improve the efficiency. As you remember, I talked about it in my other video regarding Docker. So we better follow the best practices. We better to pick the image as lean as possible to basically improve the efficiency or the speed of our build process. So in that case, because we're only going to use grab in this piece, I'm just going to use Alpine, which is the basically terminology for lean images. All right, and then we're gonna do script. The script, what we're gonna do is just simple as just do a grab. All right, so what we can do is just grab the quiet, and we're gonna grab the Gatsby keyword and the public index.html file. This is exactly what we have tested just now, to go to that public folder index.html file to check it out if the Gatsby keyword is inside of this file. All right, cool. And here, this step was to test if the artifact was created successfully or not. And we want to test the website as well. Remember, so once we can when we were testing on a local in the previous session, we were able to run a Gatsby command, which is Gatsby server, to bring up that a testing instance on our local. So after that, we just issue a local host 9,000 ports. We can get access to see or the sample application we just built. So we're gonna do the similar thing inside of our pipeline to test our website basically. So here I'm gonna create another case. I will say test website, and it's also gonna belong to the test stage. All right. So as you can see, we can put as many as test case in a single stage. So basically, GitLab-ci is able to carry out multiple test cases simultaneously for us. All right. So in this one, I'm gonna do the image. So for this test case, we're gonna use the npm, because we're gonna install npm Gatsby CLI to be able to issue that Gatsby server command to bring up the testing instance of our website, right? So we're going to use image and node script. We're going to do first, we're going to do an npm install, right? And then npm install gatsby-cli, and then we're gonna issue that command gatsby server to spin up the testing instance, and we will give it a little bit of time to have to get ready, that the server up and running, and so that's why I put a sleep time. And last but not least, we're gonna do a curl to verify that we're able to get access to that URL, which is localhost port 9000 and tag, and we're gonna do a grab-quiet Gatsby. All right, so you may notice something weird here about these curl command, like tag. What did that mean? So basically, like curl the URL, right? So we do grab some key patterns. So these simple curl command, basically, as the problem is, as soon as grep gets what it wants, it will close the read stream from curl, and the curl does not expect that and will emit a failed writing body error. That was the problem we're gonna see. You can test it out without these workaround. To see to basically commit and run the pipeline, you will see that error, right? So to fix that's why I added these a simple workaround. Basically, what it does, this workaround is to pipe the stream through an intermediary program that always reads the whole page before feeding it to the next program. Tag. Basically, tag is a Unix program that reads the entire input page and reverse the line order, which is why I used like tag twice, because I have to revert the order back again to the normal order, right? The first one is reverse the order and have to revert it back, and then we issue this grab command that will fix that error, a failed writing body error. So you can quickly test it out on your end. So here, for saving some time, I just explain these why I input these workarounds to include tag, so you know what's going on. All right, cool. That's basically our task stages. So we're good to go. So let's commit the code here. I'll add a test stage. All right, so I'll commit this change, and then we're ready to push to our GitLab repository. And then once it's pushed, we can go over there, just refresh, so you can see the pipeline is running. So we will give some time to verify, and here you can see we got a multi-stage pipeline. So build and test, and in the build was what we have created previously, and the test, we created 2 test cases inside of the test stage. All right, so let's give it some time to finish up these pipeline. All right, 2 corrections before we move to the next step. The first one, instead of, there was tuple, instead of Gatsby server, and should have been Gatsby serve. There was the command typo, all right? So, but Another issue is once you change the command to gatsby serve and rerun that pipeline, you still seems got some issue. Let me jump back to the my pipeline, and you can, if you can see here, looks like the pipeline has been running for a while. It still hasn't been finished, and looks like it's stuck at this step, test website. So if you click to see the detail, and seems it's stuck at this step, gatsby serve. So basically, this one spin up the instance, but as you can see, it's the ongoing process. It will not go because this step did not finish, and we will not finish, and it will not go to the next step before it's finished. That's the problem. So it seems it's hung there, and after a while, and once gitlab-ci runs for a certain amount of time, it's still not finished. So GitLab will automatically time it out, and we got a failure. That's the problem. So how to fix it is pretty easy. So we just need to get these commands gatsby serve to have it run as in the background. So what we need to do, we just need to add a ampersand sign in after the gatsby serve, and run it again. So it will fix that issue. It will pass that stage. So let's commit that. Run gatsby serve in the background. Okay, commit that and push it again. Okay, what we can do here, we can stop this pipeline, because if you can see here, there should be a new pipeline running. And what we can do, we can just stop this pipeline to cancel running and delete. And then we can focus on the new one to see after we put it in the background if it works or not. All right. All right, this time the pipeline was completed successfully. As you can see, it passed all the stages, right? And test website, and it went through successfully. All right, so let's jump to the Visual Studio Code. After the test stage, we are now we can say we're confident that our demo app is ready to be deployed to the next level, maybe the production environment. All right, we can create another stage called deploy. By the way, in real world, maybe before we deploy the app to production, we'd also want to deploy the code to a pre-prod environment like staging, which basically mimic the prod configuration. We can definitely do so by adding those steps to our pipeline, right? So this is what we're gonna do here. Oh, one more thing. In the test stage so far, right? We issue gatsby serve, which basically spin up the instance in our local for testing purposes, right? But for real deployment, we're definitely not gonna deploy the code to our local as the production environment, right? We're gonna deploy the code to somewhere to host our application. So for this demo, I will use a service called Surge. Surge is basically a serverless service to host our application on the cloud. So let me do that. Here I just add another two stages. One is deploying staging, and the other is deploying production. Let's add it over here. So after the test, I will do deploy staging and deploy production. deploy staging, deploy production. All right, and then we're gonna add some standard like environment. Basically, environments like I put a comment here. Environment. These parameters allow you to control the cd process. So we'll give this environment called staging, and the URL will be this URL. Basically, that's the URL, because remember on the local we're using a local host, but here because it's our prod or staging environment, we're gonna host it somewhere else, and this is gonna be our DNS. We're gonna use this URL to get access to our application. Same thing for the production one. It's the environment name is production, and we give another DNS name, a URL name to get access to our application. And here you can see I add some conditions. So because this is for deploy the code to the higher environment, right? So we only wanna there is some like scenario we only want to do that on our master branch on our repository. As you can see, for example, in Robo, there are going to be multiple branches in our repositories for like feature development. They're going to be like development branch or like whatever branches developer create for their development purpose. And for that case, we don't want like the code to be deployed to production for the branches other than master, right? We only want to, like the developer, once they create a new feature, they have to merge that feature to the master, and only the code in master has to be deployed to production. So if that's the scenario, what we can do here, we can definitely control that or managing that on the GitLab CI. So we just need to add the condition like only, and only out to master. So only the code in master can be deployed, can be deployed to these staging environments. Same thing, and here I added only master branch to be deployed to our production. All right, cool. And next we're gonna go through this the script. Basically, the search we need to install the search via npm. Same thing. So that's why I use the same image node from Docker Hub, and we first gonna install search via npm, and after search is installed, we're gonna run this command to create a host environment for us. Basically, is search project, and here we're gonna put or artifact. Basically, that's you remember all the artifacts were stored in the public folder. So I pointed to the public folder, right? And domain, we're gonna come up with some domain name to get access to our application. So in this case, I will call it for staging. I will call it zztalk 2021 -staging. That's search-sh. Same thing for prod. I will call it zztalk 2021 search -sh. So once this is deployed to the host environment, we should be able to get access to our application via this URL. This guy and this guy for staging environment, right? And here, as you can see, there I added another use case. Like for this is for staging environment. For our production environment B, there is a requirement. So we want to do manual deployment for to our production environment to make sure everything is right before we deploy, right? So we just that if that's the case, we can definitely do that as well on GitLab. So we just need to add another condition called manual. So basically, it's gonna execute the job manually from the GitLab UI. All right. So that's pretty much it. So let's comment these change. I will say added deploy stages, and I will comment that, and Actually, before I push it to GitLab, we can make our code looks better. As you can see, for improve the usability of our code, we can make some variables and replace those URLs with variables. So how do we do that? We can. Another thing is, so if you can see or different steps, like the majority of the steps so far is using this image, node image, except this test artifact is used the Alpine image, right? In that case, to increase our code usability, what we can do, we can make the node image as our default image. So I can create a global, like I'll do image. So here I will use node. So in that case, node's gonna be our default image out of box. In that case, I don't have to include image in each of the step. I would take it that only one I will keep inside of the step is test artifact because it's used in a different Docker image. So you're gonna override the default to Alpine, right? So here it's also use node, so I'm good to take it out and also the last one deploy to production. I can take the image out like this. All right. And another thing is we can create some variable. I'll do variables. Our first variable will go. I'll call staging underscore domain, and the next one I'll do production underscore domain. And here I will give some value. So in that case, for staging, how we're gonna call that? We call zz tog staging. I will copy here. And same thing for production. I will copy this guy over here. Then we can just replace these. Go to the staging. We can replace this by variable. To call that variable, we just put a $sign. $sign staging domain. That's the variable we created for staging, right? And this one can also be replaced by $sign stage domain. Same thing for production, or replace by variable here. $sign production domain. Same thing here. $sign. All right, looks good. Now we can go ahead to push the change to production. I need to comment it again, added variables, and comment and push. Let's see how it goes. Let me jump back to the GitLab, and here you can see there's the new pipeline running. Here you can see there were another 2 stages added. One is deploying staging, the other is deploying production. Let's give it time to see if it works. All right, so our new pipeline is ready. As you can see, the pipeline was successful. It passed the first 3 stages: build, test, and deploying staging. So because it's already deployed to staging, right? You can see the green sign. So basically that means we can get access to our application via that that URL here we define here. So if we grab this URL and jump to a browser and type in this URL, this domain, we should be able to get access to our application like this. All right. And if you remember, when we create our code in the Visual Studio Code for our production development, we don't want to do it like automatically via the pipeline. We want to do it via manually. So we want to make sure, okay, it passed through all the stages and the deployments to staging was successful. Then we want to, after we confirm that, we can deploy that manually. That's basically by adding these condition only. By add these condition when called manual. So that's why we see our pipeline is showing block right here, blocked, right? So because it passed through to the third stage and it blocked because we want to do the production deployment manually. So here now, as we already confirmed it was successful, so we can simply just click this button, play, and after that you're gonna start the deployment process, and after that we should be able to get access to our production environment via that domain we define right here, same like what we did to get access staging environments. All right, cool. So far so good. We have running like every time we add the new features, we commit and rerun our pipeline, right? We have run or pipeline a couple of times. I guess something you may notice, like one thing is, looks like our pipeline is kind of slow. The deployment is slow. You may think if there is a way to improve in the efficiency or the speed of our deployment. So being said of that, let's go back to our code and review again. And you can see, because I defined by default, we're going to use node image as our default Docker image, except test artifact is going to use Alpine, right? So every step besides these test artifacts, it's going to use the node image and install npm and install dependencies for our application. So let me go back to my console. And here, if you're familiar with the npm or Node.js, so if the dependencies for our application is stored in this node_modules. So basically, for each of the steps, except that the test artifact, when the npm installed, the npm will automatically install the dependencies for our application, like for us, basically. Right, so that's basically there's some like duplicate we have to take care, because with our current configuration, you see every step here. So you're gonna install the dependencies again for each of the steps that use npm install to use the node image. That's definitely gonna slow down our build process, right? So if you think if there is the way we can just download or install the dependencies somewhere, and once we go to the next step, it can just automatically download, grab all the dependencies here instead of re-download again and again. It's definitely gonna improve the efficiency, right? You're gonna improve the speed of your deployment. That actually can be done by adding cache. So here I will show you how to do that. So basically, we can introduce a cache. Make this cache for the node module, this one, to cache all those dependencies or application and globally. So let's do that. By adding here, we can add like cache and key. So follow the best practices. Normally we use the name of the branch as the key. So in this case, I'm gonna use the the predefined, the GitLab predefined variable, ci commit graph slug. So if you take a look, the predefined variable, this one basically a short version of commit graph name. Is shortened to 63 bytes. All right. So I'm gonna use this as the key, and then I'm gonna include the path of that node modules that we want to cache in. We want to cache, right? So I will do path, and here I'm gonna include node modules. I'm gonna store everything, all the dependencies cached. All right. So that's basically it. Now all dependencies are cached. So next, when we go each of the steps of going forward, so it will not reinstall or install those dependencies inside of these node modules again. So it's already there. It's gonna just grab it from the cache. It's way faster than download, install for each of steps. So you can simply compare how much is faster between these new update code with the old one to see the difference. All right. So another thing, just remember, like I mentioned, at all the steps except this guy, the test artifact. The test artifact is not using node at all, so it does not require cache because there's no npm. I don't need to install dependencies for this specific step. In that case, we can disable cache for this specific step. So all I need to do for disabling cache is I just go here, include cache, and put a empty curly braces. So basically, this way the cache will be disabled for this specific step. All right, so let's comment that, and I would say added cache. Comment that and and push it to the repository and see this time if it's faster than before. Very good. So as you can see, the latest pipeline was done, and if you compare the duration and after introducing cache to our code, and we see the duration is shortened. So basically, the performance was better compared with previous one, and our deployment was faster than before. Here and here. All right. We are ready to deploy our code to production. So after the production deployment, we want to introduce another stage, which is basically a smoke test. We want to make sure our deployment was successful on our production. So how we do that? So we're gonna add another stage. In here, I will call it smoke test. And here, I add that stage called smoke test. And this one, we just use a curl command to curl that domain, that URL, and grab some key patterns to make sure our website is up and running. So we can refer here. So I just gonna grab these hi people. If these hi people pattern showing up, I'll say our deployment was successful. All right. So let me jump back to my Visual Studio Code, and here in this case I'm not gonna install npm or anything. So I just need to use a like lean image, which can, as long as contain have the curl command, we're good. So I will use this guy. Curl latest, and same thing. These one only gonna apply to master branch, and I just gonna curl these one and grab the hi people key pattern. All right. That's pretty much it. Also, this one, since I'm not gonna use cache, so I'm gonna disable cache for these specific step. Same thing like what I did in the previous one for a test artifact right here. All right. So before I commit, I will remove this manual thing. So in that case, once we commit and push the GitLab-ci, I'm gonna deploy our code to both um, um, staging and production environments without manual intervention. I would so that we can test if these smoke tests pass or not, right? So let me take this guy out and save and commit. I will say added smoke test stage. Commit and push. All right, so let's jump back to our pipeline, and you will see a new one should be running right here, right? So let's give it a little bit of time and see if how it goes. All right. Cool. As you can see, the pipeline was successful, and it also passed the last stage that we just added smoke test green sign. All right, pretty good. That's pretty much what I want to share for this session. Before we call it a day, actually there is another place we can improve in our code base right here. So let's jump back to our Visual Studio Code, focus on these two stages, deploying staging to search and deploy production to search. All right. So if you compare the detail each of step inside of these two stages, you can see the majority of steps are kind of similar, right? So for example, environment, you use environment, and name URL is only, its condition is only to the applies to the master branch, only apply to master branch, and the script also looks similar. You're gonna install the search and then like create a domain, right? So imagine we have right now for our case we only have two environments to deploy our code to, right? Imagine what if there are like we have to deploy our code to 10 different environments just to something like a use case, like we have multiple performance environments one deploy as well, something like that. In that case, with the current configuration, we have to basically copy and paste like this section of code 10 times and modify with the like different environment name, right? That's kind of tedious, right? And the more we have, the more environment we want to deploy the torture, the more torture we got because we have to keep like doing the same thing again and again. So how do we improve the code reusability? So that's basically YAML anchor comes to the picture. I want to introduce the concept called a feature of YAML called anchor. So let me jump to the YAML validator or YAML formatter to show you what I'm talking about. So you will know easily. You will easily figure out what I'm talking about, what this anchor for, right? So I just at the beginning I write some regular YAML syntax like person. So I got a person and I got two persons, and all these two persons lives in Pleasanton, California, and it's called Alex and Bob. Imagine, so far we're good because we only have two person, right? But imagine what if we have 1,000 person, and all those 1,000 person they all live in Pleasanton, California. In that case, we have to copy and paste 1,000 times with the same information, city and state information. That is kind of a torture, right? So that's basically anchor comes to picture. anchor increase the code usability. So I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put a base object called person, and inside these object it contains city and state. All right, and I'm gonna anchor these objects by using these specific syntax. It's called and sign, and I give an alias of this anchor. I will call it base. And then in the next person 1 and person 2, I'm gonna call this anchor. So how do I do that? So I will do these special syntax star base, and then I'm gonna take this state and city and state parameter out, and only leave the thing that different between each of the objects, like name, right? Same thing for Bob. I would do same thing base, and I will create another person 3. I will do the same thing to call the anchor base, and I will give a name Aaron. Let's run that. Here you can see I did not copy paste the same information. The anchor does that for me. So you can see person 3, the city and state was copied from the base, this guy, and all I need to do, I just need to include the name, that there's something different between the objects. That's basically increase the code usability, right? And remember, so anchor, for my case, for my example, I did anchor at object level. Actually, you can do anchor at any level you want. For example, I can do as city. So in that case, I will show you what I'm talking about. And here, I will give the default city like Pleasanton, same as the default city. So firstly, I'm gonna give an anchor name. I'm gonna call it city, and the default value will be Pleasanton. All right, and then for the person 1, city. So I'm gonna use this anchor city by using star and alias name of that anchor, right? And state for these things, this guy, they will be in New York, for example. All right, same thing, person 1, person 2, and city. I will do city, and state maybe different or something like that. So format that, and you can see this time the anchor applies at like these city level. All right. If we change the default, for example, change it to from Pleasant to Dublin, and rerun, and you can see it applied to the rest of the other object. City was changed to Dublin. Cool. That's basically what I want to introduce. That basically that was anchor for. Then understand what anchor for. We can jump back to our code to create a template. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna create a template. Dot. Actually, let me just. I will call it deploy template, and I will anchor this template. I will give it deploy. Call the alias of deploy, and notice that I used a dot in front of this template. Basically, this dot tells gitlab-ci to ignore that because it's not a stage. It's a template. Right? So here, let's go inside of these ones. So we just gonna copy all the same stuff in these two stages, move that to anchor, to our templates, like this. And also environment. The name is different, so I just take the name out, so keep the name stay as the different stages. And the URL is the same, right? The only thing is, like, we need to create another variable so we can replace these variable. Basically, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create another variable called domain. All right, same thing here. Right, and then in each of the stage down below, I'm gonna take this out, take this only out, script out. All I need to do, I need to create a variable, and then give a name of this variable called domain. And then I'm gonna assign this variable, staging domain, to this new variable. All right, so basically this value, like staging domain, will be assigned to the template right here. See, this is the new variable we defined, and here we define that gonna assign these variable to this new variable. Same thing for environment. We leave that, and we can take these out. And for production, we're going to do the same thing, and we can take the URL, this guy out, this guy out, 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 and we're going to introduce a variable. And domain. And for production, we're gonna assign these production variable, production domain, to these variable here. Need to add a $sign. Cool, that's pretty much it. And then remember, we anchor these template. We're gonna call that template in this anchor inside of each of these stage. How do I do that? Remember, use that special syntax, star deploy. All right, same thing here. Star deploy. All right, that's pretty much it. So once you save it and commit and reapply, you should be able to see it does the same thing. And basically, this way we kind of improve the code reusability, because when we need to change, we just need to when we need to add additional environment to deploy the code to, so we just need to introduce these anchor, right? This is a way to improve our code reusability, right? So let me commit that. Actually, I already did that. So let me jump to my CI/CD pipeline, and here we go. And you can see this one was the latest one. I created a template, and it passed through the pipeline was created successfully. All right, cool. That's pretty much what I want to share in this session. And I believe you should be really familiar with GitLab CI. All right. So next session, I'm gonna use a real world Spring Boot Java application to show you more about GitLab CI. building another production level pipeline out of that Spring Boot application. All right, stay tuned, and I will see you next week. Alright, thank you for watching my video. If you think this video is helpful, you're more than welcome to leave any comments. Remember, thumb up, subscribe my video, and also hit the notification bell. See you next time.